So you run a business and you think you've pretty much got it sorted. Everybody around you looks upon your business thinking you've cracked the code. But somewhere amongst your thoughts, maybe at the back of your mind, is that you might feel there's a bit of a gap between where you believe your business really should be taking you and reality. Maybe it's not quite running as smooth as you expected. Maybe the money isn't quite there that you feel that you deserve. I know from 35 years of working with business owners just like that, I instinctively know what's causing that. I know where those pain points are coming from. And if you feel like you want to have a conversation, there's a link below that will take you to start a conversation. I'll happily have a conversation with you. But in this video, I want to address that for you. I want to take you through the thought process that business owners have and give you something that allows you to go away from this and see if you can't answer that question yourself. Because it's a very common response. I've literally spoken to thousands of business owners over the last 35 years, thousands. And nearly every business owner that I talk to runs a business as a family business, runs it with their spouse. This probably goes on in the corporate world just as much, but I don't do a lot in the corporate world. It's all about family-run businesses. And it's kind of a gap. It's a gap between this is where I think I should be, or where I thought I would get to by now in my career, in my business journey, but I'm actually here. And this gap is where the frustration is. And the bigger that gap, the bigger the frustration. So the more frustrated you are, probably if you just stopped for a minute and said, okay, where did I expect to be today? You might find that your expectations are out of alignment. And sometimes it's just a timeline. You wanted to be here today, but actually you're here. And we've still got a journey to go. And why is it taking longer? Something that a guy used to work with many years ago, he used to say this all the time. He said, whatever you try and do, just expect it to take longer. It'll always take longer than you think it is. And I don't know whether that's absolutely true in life with everything, but the point is that when you're building a business, as an entrepreneur, you're always in the future. You're always chasing that customer, chasing that sale, thinking about the things that when that happens, you'll be able to do X, Y, Z, whether expand the business, take on a new member of staff, etc. Just get more money. All right. All of these things is what you're trying to do. You're trying to have a better day today than you did yesterday. I was talking to somebody last week. They had their best sales day the previous Friday ever. And it's like that little moments where you go, I've been in business 10 years and I had my best sales day. And it's like, that's a little, yeah. Now the next thing is he wants to see if he can beat it. And that chase is what business owners like. They like the chase, they like it. But because we're living that chase, we're spending a lot of our time in the future. The future is where our mind is. It's where we're thinking about the possibilities. And that's what makes entrepreneurship exciting. The possibility that you are in control of your destiny. And as I say often to my children, you want the good news and the bad news. Oh, okay, what's the bad news? The bad news is you are in control of your destiny. What's the good news? You are in control of your destiny. And it comes with a bit of a double-edged sword there, because you are in control of the future of your business because it's your business. We forget sometimes as entrepreneurs, we don't have an employer. If you decide that you don't want to work Mondays, you don't have to work Mondays. If you decide that you want to go in at 4 in the morning and finish at lunchtime, you can do that. It's your business. It's your rules. Likewise, if you are running a business selling a certain service or product to a certain customer, and you don't want to do that anymore because it sucks, then stop doing it and change. You don't have to change your business. You don't have to shut the thing down and start again. You can literally just say, I'm going for a rebrand. I'm not selling that anymore. All right? You are in control of this. And sometimes business owners forget this. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we take ourselves from where we are now with this little bit of frustration to moving forward a little bit further? I've just had a meeting just yesterday with one of our clients, who has this vision for the next 5 years. It's quite a big vision. They've articulated this over the last couple of years talking to us. They've not had clarity about exactly what they want to do, but they've talked about it a lot. And I said to them, I think I know what it is that you're trying to do. How about I come and present back to you what you have been telling us for the last 18 months, 2 years or so? He said, that would be really helpful. So I sat down and I collected and documented everything that I knew about this client. All the conversations we'd had, I pulled up my notes, I made a list of everything, I put it into an order, and I wrote a report. I ended up actually producing an 18-page report. This is a big decision they're doing. But the point of me telling you this and the purpose of that document was nothing more than what I was able to do is to say to them, this is where you are. These are the milestones and the roadblocks and the things that we need to consider. Here is the action plan, or sorry, here is the goals, and here is the actions that we're going to do it. So kind of, this is where we are now. These are the things that we've got to consider. This is the goal, and this is what you've got to do, the actions we've got to take to achieve those goals. And in amongst it, here is the timeline that says, next 1 to 2 years we'll do this, next 2 to 4 years we'll do this, the next 4 to 6 years we'll do this. We now have a clear plan for the next 5 to 7 years. 5 to 7 years. And that document is the essence of what solves most people's problems when they're a little bit frustrated. They're frustrated because they don't know why they haven't reached the future yet. The thing that they thought about, by this time on the journey, by this month in the year, my sales should be this, my profit should be this, the money in the bank should be this, the business should be easier, the staff should be onboarded, the processes should be working, the customers should be satisfied. All of the things that we think about, in our mind, we want it to be a little bit ahead of where we are. And the reason it's not is because actually you haven't identified the plan clearly. You haven't articulated it to everybody else. It's going around in your head a little bit like a washing machine. These thoughts are going around, and they're going around on a spin cycle. It's like, yeah, we're all excited. And then suddenly it's a bit frustrating. And you can't articulate that, and neither can anybody around you who's helping you. So often when I go into a business and they say to me whatever they tell me, and I recognize there's a level of frustration that they haven't quite got as far as they'd intended to, the simple thing is, where's the plan? Where's the words? Where, articulate it onto a piece of paper for me. Write it down what you're trying to do. Not just, I'm trying to achieve this. That's the goal. Okay? So we need to know where we're going. We need to know what the goals are. What are the goals that we're trying to achieve here? But it starts off with, well, where are you now? What's gone right? What's gone wrong? What's causing you the problems now? What are we facing today? Where have we got to today? Because when you know where you are today, and you want to get to here in the future, there will be steps to go through. And some of those steps will require an education. And what came out of the conversation yesterday was one of the roles of, the job roles of one of the people that were involved. Once we'd identified what that new role was for them, they actually took a little bit of a sharp intake of breath. And their words were, oh, I don't know whether I'm ready for that yet. I don't have the experience to step into that role. That's a bit scary. Well, guess what? That fear was there, but it hadn't been brought to the surface. It hadn't been articulated. But now we know what that fear is. We can now adjust our expectations and go, that person's role is to do this. That's not going to happen a week on Friday, because that's just too much pressure for everybody. But then we ask a different question. How long do you think you would need if you put some dedicated effort to learning that role? And for the context of it, we're all sitting around the table knowing this person can do this job. They've already shown that they can take on this role. They're just lacking experience and lacking some confidence. And they just said, yeah, I reckon over the next 12 to 24 months, if I was focused on doing that, then we do that. Great. So guess what? One of the action plans was, here's one of the action plans to do that job. And here is the time frame that that's going to happen in. Now we know that that's going to happen. We can then take the next thing that was on the list on the action plan and say, well, that one will probably dovetail once that one's up and running and go into there. And then that one will happen after that. And then the next one will happen after that. Suddenly you could lay this plan out in front of you. And anybody who's ever been involved in the construction industry will know this, that, you know, in order to build a house, there is a process. You've got to you've got to get some planning first. You've got to put some drainage in. You've got to sort the site out. Then you've got to dig the footings. And then you've got to put some drains in. And then you start building some walls and putting some doors and windows. And then you've got your first level, your beams and your trusses going in. Put the roof on. Put the glass in. Then you start making it all look pretty inside and do the garden. And then the house is finished. You can't put the roof on unless and until somebody's dug the footings and built the walls. And so we were identifying, by mapping this out in front of our client, the journey they were going on. But what it started with was this element of frustration. I thought we'd be here by now. But where? And so that simple task of gathering the information about the business, that simple task of communicating, and I say simple, it is simple, just to keep talking to our clients. We talk to our clients all the time, which is why I was able to sit down and go, over the last 18 months, I've had a lot of conversations with these guys. Really good conversations, deep conversations, helping them, coaching them, mentoring to figure out what they want to do. And now they've started to articulate what they want to do and where they want to go. Great, we now got a plan. Now we've put that plan together. When I left yesterday, you should have seen the excitement in the room. There were things on this list, they were going, no problem, we can bosh that. Some of the things were like, oh, do you realise we've nearly done that? Great. And what they were left with was just 2 or 3 things that they needed to put some work in. And a little bit of time. We recognised it was going to take some time. Deliberately, it was going to take some time, because the whole purpose of this process we were going. In other words, we had a 5-year plan. A 5-year plan on a document that everybody understood. And if you have a plan, guess what? Suddenly your frustration disappears, because now it's just a case of, well, what do I need to do next? What do I actually need to do next? Have I done the thing that we said we would do? If you didn't, what's got to change? Well, I need to get more customers, and I'm not very good at sales. Learn to do more sales, or hire a salesperson, or a sales team, or a marketing person. My books are in a mess and I haven't got any financial figures. Great. Learn to do your books, learn to do your finances, or employ somebody to do the job. Okay, it's not these questions are not based around the challenge of not knowing how to do something. In 2026, with all the information available to us on the internet and AI now, there is no excuses for not knowing how to do something. You can learn. You can learn faster now than we've ever learned in our life. Okay, so we can learn how to do things. And if we don't want to learn or can't learn, then we find somebody who can do it to fix all the things to move our business along faster. And that then starts to get rid of the frustration. I hope that is of some sort of value to you in your thinking. If you've got any comments, leave them below and I'll see how I can reply to them or do another video on the back of it. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.